You're still watching News Desk here on Joy News. Now, embattled national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Paul Afoko, has petitioned the National Council of the party on his suspension. A 14-page petition to the council, the highest decision-making body after Congress, according to a graphic report, was received and filed by the party's General Secretary, Mr. Kwabna Ejapong. Mr. Ejapong is expected to inform the council for further action. Mr. Afoko, who had 21 days to petition against his suspension, has all along pledged his determination to exhaust internal party structures in fighting his suspension. Mr. Afoko, who was elected the NNP national chairman in April 2014, was suspended indefinitely at an emergency NEC meeting at the party's headquarters at a Salam down here in Accra on Friday, October 23. The NPP's disciplinary committee had on October 21 submitted a report to the NEC of the party recommended the indefinite suspension of Mr. Afoko as national chairman, citing his unilateral leadership style as a bane of the party's progress. At its meeting on Friday, October 23, the NEC endorsed the recommendation of the disciplinary committee and asked the first vice chair, Mr. Freddie Blay, to act as national chairman in accordance with the party's constitution. Now, Mr. Afoko has held that he's still at post and that his suspension cannot hold. Some party activists across the country last week also demanded the immediate reinstatement of Mr. Afoko, saying he had been elected and due process must be followed. Now, still on this, a member of parliament for Bantama, Henry Kokofu, has applauded the suspended national chairman of the party for using the internal party structures to seek redress. You're speaking this morning on the AM show.
Mr. Afoko finally have decided to petition the National Council, the second highest decision-taking body of the party, which I think is a step in good direction. Without going in to the merit of the issue, because I wouldn't want to sound prejudicial here, and for that matter, it's still pending before an appellate body. The aftermath of all these brouhaha has left us with some bruises, which we must admit. As we speak today, yesterday we had a very bad experience of going to bury Sadiq, and at this juncture I will only say to the bereaved family, friends and other people alike, that our hearts with them.
Were you there?
I wasn't, but the original chairman, Untumi, was there, the vice presidential candidate was there, a lot more of our party supporters and leaders were there to show solidarity with the family. Having said that, we are on the path of bringing about peace within us, and Mr. Afoko's decision, I've heard people saying it's too late, you should have done it earlier on, but I think it's better.
Is it not within the period? Is it a 21-day period?
Yeah, sure. So that's why I used to tell people, I mean, within 21-day period.
What do you think? You think it's too late?
No. I think it would have been, if it had come a bit earlier, it would have calmed down nerves, and then we wouldn't have experienced most of the things that went on last week. However, the right to appeal or the when to do that remains within his own rights, constitutional rights, and he has exercised his rights according to the dictates of his thinking and his aspirations. I can only wish my
competitor,
my competitor, my patriot, fellow patriot, I can only wish him well in his endeavor to get the decision either reversed or whatever. Otherwise,
is it not more like his endeavor to get justice?
Well, let me recall what our flag bearer Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo said in the earlier days when these things started. He said he would have wished that we hadn't reached that point. However, having gotten to that point and the decision had been taken, he appealed to all of us, the supporters of the party, to respect the authority and the decision until until steps are taken to reverse the decision or whatever. So it was his message at that time was in three folds. Yes, we could have avoided it. Now here we are, a decision from neck on our hands. Let us respect it. And then the third thing, taking advantage of the window of opportunity.
Now, energy expert and chief policy analyst of the Ghana Institute of Public Policy Options, Dr. Charles Rekubrobi, has described as premature an ongoing tariff review exercise by the PURC. Dr. Rekubrobi wants the intended review to be postponed since the last review has not fully run its course. He, however, maintains that the quarterly review of the automatic adjustment formula should continue until the 2016 major review. His comments follow plans by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission to implement an upward review of tariffs by the close of year. But what could be the implication if the planned review is pushed to next year? Dr. Charles Rekubrobi joins us live on phone now with some more on this. Doc, good morning and thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, why the suggestion to suspend the tariff review till next year?
Well, I'm not suggesting it should be suspended. I'm simply saying the time is not due. According to the PURC's own rules, major reviews take place after every 3 years. The last major review was done in 2013 October. Unless my schooling is wrong, the next review should be in 2016 October. So I'm not asking for a postponement. I'm asking for the right thing to be done.
Now, wouldn't it be more expensive for the consumer to afford?
Well, we already have in place an automatic adjustment formula. And that automatic adjustment formula it includes changes in generation mix, it includes changes in fuel types, it includes changes in foreign exchange. So all the major elements that goes into an automatic adjustment formula can be used and looked at, to carry out the same exercise. And at any rate, the very point I'm making also is that we should never even consider adjustment of tariffs unless we've got the restoration of full supply. I'm not even sure why you people continue to sing the song of tariff adjustments when they have never led to full supply. You pay for what you are given. You don't pay and wait for the delivery of the product.
So I'm reading a bit of your article, and I see point 4 here that talks about the announcement. Okay, let me just paraphrase. Let me quote what you wrote here. It says the announcement of the new tariffs must include specific benchmarks on quality of service and reduction of inefficiencies, which the utilities would be held to account on and will be taken into account when tariffs are next reviewed.
Yes.
Now, is this not a call you've made a number of times? And indeed, if the PURC saw some merit in it, do you think they would not have pushed through it this long ago?
It's not a question of merit. They are required to do so. The first objective of the PURC is to actually ensure that the cost of production and cost of supply are covered. And that means you eliminate inefficiencies as much as possible. If 50% of the water we produce is not billed, that means that we, the consumers, are paying for the inefficiency of the utility product. There is merit. There is a requirement. But PURC, unfortunately, has always dwelled on the tariff and not looked properly at its responsibilities to ensure that they operate efficiently. Why do you think government is thinking of putting ECG under private management? Why do you think we went into an experiment with water management? You cannot legislate for inefficiencies for somebody else to pay for. So the merit is completely undebatable. Action from PURC, its remit is to consider both the utility interest and the consumer interest. Too much emphasis has been put on utility interest. They've been promising better quality service if we pay tariff. It's happened so many times. The quality service, no, the service has not even come, never mind the quality. So it is justifiable that we as consumers, we must demand fair treatment from the PURC.
So should the PRC go ahead to implement this plan proposal by the various utility providers, seeking close to about 200% increment in tariffs?
I don't think that the law allows it. I will tell everybody on your network that I will go to the court to stop PURC doing that because it is not time for it to do it. You know, the law says they must review tariffs. Major reviews must take place every 3 years. So it's not a question of if they go ahead. They will be in breach of their own regulations and law.
And would it be the first time?
Let us start to live by the laws of this land for once. And if those we put in charge of our affairs have no respect for our laws, it's about time we actually started asking that the laws be obeyed.
Many thanks for your time, Dr. Charles Rekubrobe on News Desk this morning. Dr. Charles Rekubrobe is Chief Policy Analyst of the Ghana Institute of Public Policy Options. And, well, we'll be bringing you much more on this particular one. But let's go now live to the Communications Ministry, where the Labour Minister is actually addressing the press. There were quite a number of issues has to do with the pensions and a whole lot more. Let's go live now and get to know what is currently going on there.
To Parliament to seek an amendment to portions of it to allow for Senate to play some role. But as many of you will recall, the Forum, an organized group of occupational scheme leadership, were dissatisfied with the handling of the matter relating to the management of the second-tier pension. They resorted to a number of actions, including strike actions, withdrawal of services, to protest that, in their view, it was their determination to determine who should manage the four scheme as established by them: the health service workers, the judicial service workers, educational workers. Many of you again will recall that President John Dramani Mahama on May Day, 1st May, following a court action initiated by government, ably led by the Office of the Attorney General, who by virtue of the provisions of the Constitution, Article 88, leads government legal team, sought an interpretation to certain aspects of Act 766, in particular to seek some judicial interpretation on who was to appoint the four schemes in terms of whether it was an occupational pension scheme or not. The Attorney General, therefore, as a response to the action of the Forum, which at the time took a very entrenched position, government took a very difficult position, which did not help matters. Whilst government contended that we were the employers and therefore we had the right to appoint the trustees, fund administrators, it was their view that it was their doing to be able to do so. Therefore, the Attorney General initiated an action which is still pending in the law court. However, it was the wisdom and advice of President Mahama that, as emotive and sensitive as pension matters are, he would wish that there was an amicable solution and resolution to the matter by way of an out-of-court settlement. This he announced on May Day as part of the May Day celebration at his olive to organized labor and particularly to the Forum, for us to seek a resolution of the matter within us talking together. Subsequent to that, by virtue of the President's mandate and authority, I appointed Peter Haibo, who is here, undoubtedly with very strong legal backing and experience in matters relating to pension, to lead a process of a discussion and negotiations with the leadership of the second-tier pension for us to see whether we could have an amicable resolution of the matter and settle out of court. I should note that the doctor-in-law here, Dr. Ayeni, advised that whatever decisions we arrive at, even as a government or as a team, will be subject to he going back to court to file same, which will require review of the instrument. So without much ado, the Peter Haibo Committee have concluded its work. and the outcome is favorable, that we do have a consensus going forward on the management of the second-tier pension. If the Minister for Communication will please me, I will allow Peter Haibo to come, make some brief remarks, and present the final report to me, the highlight of which I will share with you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, and we proceed further. So Peter Haibo, if you can come with the indulgence of my colleague ministers, and feel free, since it's an expert committee, you are free to comment on any aspect of it, subject to what we would convey to you finally. So Peter Haibo, I may yield the podium to you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister for Communications, Honorable Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Honorable Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Honorable Deputy Attorney General, Minister of Justice, the representatives of the National Pension Regulatory Authorities, colleague members of the committee. The Minister has already informed you that the committee was appointed to look into the problems that confronted the implementation of the second-tier pension for the public sector workers. The committee was inaugurated in June. The committee commenced its work. But let me say that the other members of the committee that worked are here, and I'll, with your permission of the Minister, just mention them. Mr. Isaac Bampo, leader of the forum side, is here. Mr. Sylvester Williams, representative of the Attorney General's office, is here. Director of Regulation, Mr. N.S. Vondi from NPR, he's an observer. A co-opted member, Ms. Lois Minta, is here. The Dr. Justice Jansen, representative of the health sector, is here. Others are not here. We commenced work and had a series of meetings. We worked with openness and sincerity, and we were guided by the National Pensions Act 2008 Act 766 and the regulations that have been provided for management of the second-tier pensions in the country. And based on those provisions and the understanding and willingness on both sides of government and the forum to arrive at a consensus, we were able to find a solution which will enable the public sector second-tier pension schemes to be established as an employer-sponsored scheme as provided for in the law. In view of the fact that the matter is in court and whatever that we recommended may have to be, upon approval, be filed in court as terms of settlement of the matter, we will not divulge all the issues here. We will always indicate that it is agreed that the worker and the employer come together to form the scheme as provided for in the law, and that is what both sides have agreed upon. The appointment of the service provider, the various ways in which it will be done, including the fund manager, custodians, scheme administrators, all of them has been agreed upon as the way that this should be done. More importantly, Honorable Minister, the committee also suggested a roadmap for implementation of the recommendations, if accepted, including the transfer of the almighty fund in the temporary pension fund account of Bank of Ghana to the specific schemes when the recommendations are accepted. That is the comment that I'll make, but I only want to say that both sides work with sincerity and openness, and everybody is satisfied with the conclusions that we have arrived at, based upon which we make recommendations to the Minister.
Okay.
Well, that was it. You saw the live transmission from the Communications Ministry for on the Peter Mabel pensions. Well, obviously, there was a committee set up by government to look into the pensions issue. It was headed by Peter Mabel. You heard him speak there. We'll bring you much more on that subsequently. But time now for us to get some sports with Georgia Jr.